Thank you for tuning in to Light Novel Up Audio. Subscribe to our channel or visit our website at lightnovelup.net to discover more exciting and captivating stories. Today, I'll be bringing you a story full of romance, drama, and unexpected twists. After 5 years away, Ning Xi returns to take revenge on her sister who destroyed her family and the man who betrayed her. Determined to chase her dream of becoming a top actress, she must also dodge her sister's constant schemes. But everything changes when she saves an adorable little boy, and his powerful father suddenly proposes, "Marry me." What follows is a heartwarming and hilarious tale of healing, flirtation, and maybe even love. Let's dive into the story. Hidden Marriage. Chapter 1. 7 months pregnant. Her body was burning with heat as strong as volcanic lava, and the only one who could save her was the man before her. She clung tightly to the cold, marble-like skin, her survival instinct eventually making her give up all resistance. Pain was accompanied by pleasure slowly rising bit by bit, like a firework display going off in her mind, making her feel like she was a lone boat in a sea of fire. Rising, then sinking, it was hard for her to free herself. "Hey, wake up! It's cold here, don't catch a cold!" The pressure on her shoulders caused Ning Xi to wake up abruptly. Her disoriented gaze met with the concerned eyes of the nurse. In an instant, her guilty conscience made her face blush. She wished she could crawl into a hole in the ground as she avoided the nurse's gaze in shame. Damn. Although it has already been such a long time after that one drunken night, that hot night she had with Su Yan kept appearing in her dreams from time to time. Thanks to being drunk to the point of unconsciousness, she did not have much memory of that night, otherwise she would not know how to face Yan Gege. The nurse saw that she had finally woken up and passed the papers in her hands to her. "You forgot to take your pregnancy health results. Dr. Zhang would like you to come again next week." Ning Xi received the report, smiled sweetly, and carefully placed the papers in her own purse. Su Yan was still studying overseas. He was coming back tonight. Thinking of the meeting tonight, Ning Xi unconsciously tensed up. Because the area Su Yan was at was too inaccessible, it was only until the child was more than 7 months old that she finally contacted him. Thinking of the shock that Su Yan had when he found out she was pregnant, Ning Xi was a little nervous. Was it because she was particularly sensitive due to the pregnancy? Ning Xi felt that Su Yan was not as happy as she was about this. The doctor reassured her, saying that men were always like that with their first child. Their mentality would take some time to change. But it couldn't be that even regarding marriage, she would have to be the one to speak up. The sun was burning brightly in the sky when she came out of the hospital. Ning Xi struggled to support her waist. Just as she was about to wave down a taxi, a dazzling red sports car rushed towards her. Ning Xi's heart thumped, and she retreated quite a few steps back, only to hear a screeching sound from the brakes as the red sports car just brushed over the edge of her clothes before stopping abruptly. Ning Xi's heart almost stopped. After slowly regaining her footing, she saw a woman wearing a body-hugging red dress toss her wavy hair as she stepped down from the car. "Ning Xuelo, are you crazy?" Ning Xuelo looked at her, laughing with deep meaning. With crossed arms, as if strutting on the catwalk, she swayed as she walked until she stood in front of Ning Xi. Using the advantage of her high heels, she arrogantly looked down on the big-bellied Ning Xi. "What, scared I'll kill the bastard in your stomach?" Ning Xi subconsciously protected her abdomen. Taking a step back, she looked at her warily. "Ning Xuelo, don't you go too far!" Despite knowing that Ning Lo had always been at loggerheads with her, Ning Xi had not thought that she could speak such vicious words. Going too far? You're the one who went too far. After getting drunk and doing it with some wild man and getting pregnant, then trying to make Su Yan become the father. Tisk, tisk. Ning Xi, aren't you so shameless? Ning Xi froze. What nonsense are you saying? Hey, don't tell me you really believe that the man who slept with you that night was Su Yan. Ning Lo laughed before leaning back, saying that you grew up with Su Yan since you were kids, with every other sentence, saying that you're childhood sweethearts, and you don't even know what his figure is like. Ning Xi grew paler as she listened. Despite standing under intense sunlight, her whole body felt cold. Yes, the man from that night. She had only thought. Su Yan was fitter than she had imagined after growing up. Now, with Ning Lo's malicious reminder, she then suddenly recalled that, other than the body, the man from that night was indeed very different from Su Yan. Chapter 2. Hidden Marriage. Chapter 2. A Stranger's Bastard. I'll just tell it to you straight. That night, you drank the wine that I added a little something to. And out of goodwill, I found 2 brawny men for you so that you could fully satisfy your desire. Who knew that you would be so insensible? You actually entered some wild man's room, and even unceremoniously. Ning Lo's tone was full of disgust. Yan Gege is too kind-hearted. He was afraid that you wouldn't be able to accept the truth, so he said that it was him that night. You. Ning Xi was trembling with anger. Listening up to here, she could no longer hold back and grabbed Ning Lo's wrist. Why would you do that to me? Why? Haven't you harmed me enough? Ning Lo had her brows raised in anger at first and was about to push Ning Xi away, but she caught sight of Su Yan standing behind her. She immediately softened her voice, showing off a delicate and pitiful expression. Older sister, I know I was in the wrong. If you want to beat and scold someone, then do it towards me. Don't blame Yan Gege. Ning Xi froze, and in the next second, she saw Ning Lo suddenly fall to the ground. That pose was as if she had pushed her. Ning Xi, what did you do? A scolding voice sounded behind her. Ning Xi turned in surprise and saw Su Yan with a cold expression. Su Yan brushed past her and supported Ning Lo up. Lo, are you okay? Ning Lo was practically hanging her entire body on Su Yan. Yan Gege, I didn't do it on purpose. I know I'm in the wrong. I'm the one who should be sorry to sister for causing all this. That's enough. I'll settle everything. Su Yan patted Ning Lo's shoulders, letting her enter the car. I'll explain everything to Ning Xi. Ning Xi's mind was completely blank. She watched Su Yan walk towards her and watched his mouth open and close. He talked for a long time. He spoke of their time together as childhood sweethearts, of his struggle when he fell in love with Ning Lo, of his anger when he found out that Ning Lo had plotted against her, of his shock and guilt when he found out that Ning Xi was pregnant. He spoke of how he had accepted Ning Lo's apology. Finally, he said, Ning Xi, I'm sorry. I can't marry you. It's not because of the matter of that night or this child, but it's because I can't let Lo down, and I don't want to deceive myself and my feelings. These few months, he had been taking Ning Lo with him overseas, and after getting along together day and night, it was even harder to separate. Even though he had admitted that he was the one that had relations with Ning Xi that night for the sake of covering up her pain, in his heart, he had already chosen Ning Lo.
So after knowing that Ning Xi was pregnant, he could not bear it any longer and immediately went to the Ning family to explain everything to our parents and to reveal the truth to Ning Xi. Then, Su Yan, you knew all along that it was Ning Lo who drugged me to ruin my innocence. For the sake of protecting her, you told me that it was you that night? The Ning Xi that had finally recovered her voice looked at the cool and calm Su Yan as if her soul had escaped from her body. Ning Xi, Shulo didn't do it on purpose. She's still young and impulsive. Then what about me? Ning Xi raised her head to look at Su Yan, face full of despair. Su Yan did not speak, and after a long while he reached out to Ning Xi. The sun is too bright here. Let's go home first. Don't touch me! Ning Xi pushed away Su Yan's hands and suddenly started laughing loudly. Living up to now, Ning Xi felt that her life was like a joke. For living in the same city as Su Yan, she had put all her strength in her studies so she could get into B University. For pleasing Su Yan, she had given her dream of acting. For matching his upbringing and family background, she had abandoned her adoptive parents to return to the Ning family, clumsily trying to please those so-called distinguished figures. In the end, what she received in return was one sentence: I can't let Shulo down. Ning Shulo had stolen not only her identity and her biological parents, but now she had even stolen away her sweetheart. Ning Shulo was still young, so her mistakes could be forgiven. Then who would take responsibility for her life? She even didn't know who the man from that night was. Ning Xi covered her face, body shaking fiercely. She was already in the depths of despair. Su Yan watched Ning Xi walk towards the road unthinkingly, as if in a trance. He threw away the cigarette he was grasping between his fingers and was about to chase after her, but was held back by Ning Lo, who held onto his sleeve from behind him. Yan Gege, where are you going? And in the instant Su Yan was hesitating, a loud noise rang out. Ning Xi, who had been walking on the zebra crossing, was thrown into the air, landing heavily on the ground. Help! Help! A pregnant woman was hit! In the glaring light, Ning Xi saw shaking silhouettes and the two faces that made her nauseated. The cramping pain that came from her belly caused her to lose consciousness bit by bit. She only blinked her eyes once, and the fresh blood on her forehead slowed into her eyes. The world fell into darkness.
Novel, Hidden Marriage. Read from beginning. Chapter 3. The Little Boy in the Bar. 5 years later. In the Eaton Bar, in a corridor on the empty top floor. Ning Xi had been drinking for the entire night to accompany some investors. With a splitting headache, she wanted to find somewhere clean and quiet to sober up, but she had not expected that Chongli would follow her. She could only gather up her spirit to deal with her. Sister Chong, is there something you want to say? Ning Xi, let me ask you, did you register to audition for the female lead in Land Under Heaven? Yes, why? You're not allowed to go tomorrow. Although she was her manager, she was stopping her from auditioning for this role that all the major entertainment companies were jostling for. Ning Xi was not at all surprised by this, and only raised her brows and asked, Reason. You went behind my back and acted by yourself, and you still dare to ask me for the reason? Didn't you know that the company has already arranged for Ning Lo to audition? This doesn't seem to conflict with the company's arrangements. Ning Xi smiled faintly at her. Ning Lo made you come find me? Don't tell me she's afraid that I, a small-time actress whose name isn't even known, will snatch her role? You think you have the ability to snatch Shuelo's role? You're still talking in your dreams. Let me tell you, don't waste your efforts. The Ning family has invested 30 million into this movie. Shuelo is already sitting securely in this role. Then why are you so anxious? Since you're my artist, you have to listen to my arrangements, Chongli said, as if that was how it ought to be.
So Sister Chang still knows that I'm an artist under you. Ning Xi, I don't have the time to bicker with you. Since you're refusing to comply, don't blame me for resorting to force. As she finished speaking, Ning Xi felt a strong blow from behind. Caught unguarded, she was pushed into the storeroom in the corner, and her phone was also taken away. With a bang, the door was heavily shut. Under the footsteps outside the door, slowly drifted away. Knowing that shouting was useless, Ning Xi kept silent. Leaning against the door, she slid down to the floor with an indifferent expression. When she had first entered the company, Ning Xuelo was still able to restrain herself and only made Chong Li arrange for a few villain roles for her at most. However, she was growing bolder and starting to go too far. She was even able to throw out such a low-level tactic. If she failed to get the role this time, then she had to find a way to leave Starlight Entertainment. In her messy thoughts, a small sound traveled to her ears. Was there a mouse? Ning Xi followed the direction of the sound and looked over and was stunned. She saw a little boy behind a stack of boxes. That little guy looked to be about 4 or 5. He looked like a finely carved jade piece, white, soft, like a little bun. He was currently shivering and hiding in the corner, his dark eyes filled with precaution and vigilance. Why would there be a child in a storeroom of a bar? There shouldn't be a customer so crazy as to bring their child to a bar, right? Hey, little bun, who are you? How did you get in here? Did you sneak in? Were you also shut in here by someone? Do you eat sweets? After questioning him for half the day, the child remained silent, but started shaking even more, as if he were a frightened little beast. Finally, Ning Xi did not bother continuing to speak. It had nothing to do with her anyway. The two of them, adult and child, thus peacefully occupied a corner each. At this moment, the light bulb above them flashed brightly, then went out. In the darkness, Ning Xi vaguely heard a chattering sound. After carefully listening for a bit, she realized that it was similar to the sound of teeth chattering. Ning Xi laughed in spite of herself and turned towards the little bun to say, "Scared of the dark?" The chattering sound paused for a second, then increased in volume. "Oh, how was he so cowardly?" Ning Xi pat her bottom and stood up, then walked towards the little guy.
Chapter 4. Saved a Little Bun. The little bun was so scared of her that his face went pale. However, Ning Xi just sat down next to the little bun and did nothing, immediately shutting her eyes and going to sleep. She had been pushed by Chang Li to accompany people in drink the whole night. She had a blinding headache right now. When Ning Xi finally woke up after a while, she felt that the side of her leg was warm. Lowering her head, she could see that at some point the little bun had snuggled up to the side of her leg, and his little hand was even holding on to the corner of her shirt. Ning Xi could not help but laugh. Previously, when she was still in the countryside, she had owned a cat. It was particularly cowardly and afraid of people and would run if it saw any person. However, as long as you did not notice it, it would let its guard down and feel like you were not a threat. Once that happened, it would sneakily snuggle up to your side by itself, even climbing into your lap to sleep. The little bun seemed to have felt her gaze. His little face blushed a bit, but this time there was no more panic in his eyes. Instead, his big eyes were filled with curiosity. He was really just like a little pet cat. Even his eyes were the same. Ning Xi's lips curved up. Her hands were itching to pet him. She gave up on resisting and reached out to pet that adorable, fluffy little head. With that one touch, her face immediately changed. Why was his forehead this hot? "You're having a fever?" Chang Li would keep her locked up until the audition was over tomorrow, at the very least. If the child continued burning for that long, it would be too dangerous. Well, getting anxious over the time, she found that something was not right. The light bulb had blown. Why was there still light in the room? Raising her head, she saw that there was a small skylight and light was falling from that small window. Ning Xi looked around the storeroom and finally moved a ladder over. "Little Bun, come over, I'll help you get out." The little guy finally showed a response to her words, but he shook his head with a resolute gaze. Ning Xi understood his meaning, but smiled and pinched his cheeks. "You're quite loyal after all. You want to suffer together with me? Go up. This window is too small, I can't get out. If you get out first, you can find someone to come save me." Seeing that the little guy was still hesitating, Ning Xi carried him and placed him on the ladder. "Quick, if you're a man, then don't hesitate. I'll protect you from the bottom." After finally sending the child out with much difficulty, Ning Xi felt a wave of dizziness. She lost control of her legs and fell from the ladder in one movement. From the edge of the window, the little Bun saw this scene, and panic rose up on the previously dull and lifeless little face. Ning Xi held on to the last bits of her strength and said one word: "Go." Under the light of the stars, the woman's face was pale and fragile, but that did not obscure her startling beauty, especially that pair of moist and lively eyes that were like a sea filled with endless stars. She was no longer the ignorant countryside girl and ugly duckling. But how was that use now? Ning Xi snarled bitterly. Before she had her revenge, she would fall to death here. But at least she had done a good deed in saving the little Bun. If her child had not died back then, he would probably be around this age. After the car accident 5 years ago, in shame, the Ning family had sent her away to a university specializing in accepting wayward children of the elite in America, leaving her to fend for herself. She withdrew from that university and reapplied for the University of South California, almost going crazy in her pursuit of all kinds of knowledge. Because she wanted to defeat Ning Xiaolu and take back everything that was hers. Most importantly, acting was the biggest dream of her life. After returning to her homeland, using this face and a solid foundation of acting skill, she was spotted by Chang Li and successfully entered the industry's largest company, Starlight Entertainment. She should have had a bright future from then on, but Ning Xiaolu followed her into Starlight and through bribing Chang Li, was suppressing her from all directions.
Chapter 5. We Found Little Young Master. At the same time, in the reception room of the Eaton Bar, the atmosphere was heavy. The boss of the bar, the managers, security, and all related staff were standing in a row with great trepidation. All of them had expressions showing that disaster was about to fall upon them. Because the Lu Corporation's little prince, Lu Tingxiao's precious son, had gone missing in their bar. On the sofa, Lu Tingxiao's face was chilly as always. Not a single shred of extra feeling was showing on that ice statue. However, the pressure of a superior was pressing on each person present, causing their legs to soften and their sweat to fall like the rain. No one dared to utter a single word. A young man was kneeling by his feet, face full of tears and snot. "Brother, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have brought Little Treasure to a bar. If anything happens to Little Treasure, then I won't live any longer." As he finished speaking, a kick was thrown at his chest. The sound of bone breaking made their scalps tingle. Everyone present shook a little. Lu Jingli clutched at his chest and coughed fiercely for a while, before immediately crawling back up and kneeling with a straight back. Their parents were still overseas on holiday and have not heard that Little Treasure was lost. If they were to find out, then it would not be settled with a simple kick from his older brother. He could even be flayed alive. Lu Jingli's heart was currently like dead ashes, completely ashamed. Suddenly, a knock sounded on the door of the reception room. The boss, who was the closest to the door, opened it. Seeing that there was no one at the door, he was still wondering about it when he bent his head and was stunned. Little young master. Little treasure. Oh heavens, little treasure, second uncle's precious baby. Where did you run off to? Lu Jingli crawled up from the ground to embrace the little guy tightly. He was so emotional that he burst into tears. Everyone in the room held an expression of having survived death. Lu Tingxiao walked a few steps to the door, then grabbed Lu Jingli's collar to throw him away. He squat down in front of his son. What happened? After finally getting out of the clutches of his second uncle, Little Treasure grabbed onto Lu Tingxiao's hand, anxiously trying to tug him outside. Just as Lu Tingxiao got closer to his son, he smelled the strong scent of alcohol from his body. There was also a hint of a subtle fragrance, not the pungent smell of a perfume, but more like a flower that had bloomed on a glacier. The cool fragrance was inexplicably familiar to him, to the point that his heart skipped a beat for a moment. Seeing that Lu Tingxiao was not moving, Little Treasure pointed in one direction, anxiously making hoarse ha, ha sounds from his throat. Lu Tingxiao picked up his son and headed straight in the direction that his son was pointing in. The people behind him, including Lu Jingli, saw that something was up and exchanged gazes before following. 5 minutes later, the group of people stopped in front of a storeroom on the top floor. Little Treasure twisted his body and dropped down from his father's body and beat at the storeroom's door, looking extremely anxious. Little Treasure, what's happening? What's inside? Lu Jingli was confused. Lu Tingxiao ordered, expressionlessly, "Open the door." Yes, yes, yes. The boss of the bar nodded his head, then turned to scold the female manager at his side. "Manager Ye, what are you waiting for? Quickly open the door. Where's the key?" Open the door?" The female manager was stunned. Oh no! That woman, Ning Xi, was still locked in there. She promised Chang Li to keep her at least until the audition was over. But with these two gods from the Lu family and the boss waiting, how could she possibly refuse? She could only tremble and pull out the key to open the door. Once the door was opened, a woman lying unconscious on the floor came into view. "What's going on? Why is there a woman in there?" The boss raged. I don't know. There wasn't anyone in there when I last checked. Quickly, just save that person first." As someone attempted to get close to Ning Xi, Little Treasure immediately threw himself on Ning Xi's body. His little face held a ferocious expression, not letting anyone near. Chapter 6. The Sparkling Golden Prince. Translator Hen Ye. Editor Hen Ye. President Liu, the bar owner felt helpless. He didn't understand at all how this situation had come about. Lu Tingxiao glanced coldly at the female manager's guilty expression, then looked at the ladder, which was under the skylight in the ceiling, big enough to allow a child through. He could roughly deduce what had happened here. He waved his hand to dismiss everyone, then walked over and directly picked the woman up in his arms. In his embrace, the soft, cool scent from before returned and was even more distinct. Seeing Lu Tingxiao pick her up, little Beishao did not stop him, but his expression showed his unwillingness. It appeared as though he was saying that if he wasn't so small, he'd pick her up himself. In the First People's Republic Hospital in Beijing, by the time Ning Xi woke up, It was already the next morning. When she opened her eyes, she could see a man sitting on a chair by the window. His long legs were casually crossed. He wore a slim-fitting tailored suit that emphasized his broad shoulders and slender waist. His white shirt was buttoned all the way up to the collar. He was bathed in the warm morning sun, but his body appeared to be shrouded in an ancient frost. His cool and calm demeanor was like that of an olden-day emperor. The man noticed her observing him and looked up with a gaze as deep as the ocean directed toward her. His chilling stare seemed to pierce through her. The look he gave her felt intrusive, like a sharp surgery knife dissecting her piece by piece. It made her bones shudder. Ning Xi decided to join the battle, unwilling to lose to the stranger and his uncomfortable gaze. She asked impatiently, "Mister, if I may ask, how did I end up here? Also, did you see a little boy? He seems like he's 4 to 5 years old, doesn't like to speak, is white, soft, but also very cute." "Cute?" The man raised his eyebrow at her description, then glanced to her right, his voice as cold as his appearance. "Are you talking about little Beishao?" Ning Xi quickly followed his line of sight and saw a white, soft little bun lying asleep on the small bed by her side. "Right, that's him! His name is little Beishao?" Ning Xi let out a sigh of relief and reached over to feel little Beishao's forehead. His fever had already subsided. Not too long after she had helped this child escape, she began to feel a hint of regret. He was still so young, and with a fever in such a rough place like that wine bar, what would she have done if something had happened to him? Ning Xi then turned around to face the ice statue. "You're this child's—" As soon as these words left her mouth, she realized she didn't even need to ask. The man and the child seemed to have come from the same mold. It was apparent that they were father and son. Still, the ice statue replied, "Father." "Hi, beautiful. You're awake. I'm little Beishao's second uncle." Abruptly, a large face rushed towards her, causing her to retreat backwards, until she saw the man's face and stopped. Lu Jingli? He was the Lu Corporation's second prince, Glory World Entertainment's boss, but leaving his stunning looks and titles aside, he was a playboy. He had made more scandalous appearances in the media than many celebrities and artistes. He could never mistake his face. If the ice statue was little Beishao's father and Lu Jingli was little Beishao's second uncle, then the ice statue would be Lu Jingli's older brother, Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao was Jing City's famous god fortune. His existence was like a king sans a crown.
Novel, Hidden Marriage. Chapter 1. Chapter 7. Big Bun wants to repay with his body. Lu Tingxiao sized up the woman on the bed probingly, as if he was trying to tell if the expression of surprise on her face was real. After a long while, it seemed as if he finally believed that she had not known of Little Treasure's identity. He then spoke up coolly. "Your request." What request?" Ning Xi did not understand the words that had appeared out of nowhere. "Your brother wants to thank you for saving Little Treasure. He's asking you to state your request." Lu Jingli had the expression, "You struck gold this time," written all over his face. Hearing this, the gears in Ning Xi's head spun quickly, as she cautiously said, "You really don't need to thank me. It's true that I saved Little Treasure, but he also saved me. If it weren't for Little Treasure going out to call for help, then I would still be shut in there right now, so we can be considered even." Although she was really lucky to have saved the little prince, how could she dare to claim a reward for it?
The more money someone had, the more prone they were to paranoid delusions of being schemed against. And this was the super-rich, top-class elite Liu family they were talking about. It was already amazing that they were not suspecting her of directing the whole incident. Didn't you see how warily Lu Tingxiao had been looking at her just now? To avoid extra suffering later on, it was best to even out the relations between them. Ning Xi had thought that there was no issue with her answer, but Lu Tingxiao's expression remained displeased, causing a burst of fright in her heart. Did she say something wrong? Why was his expression so scary? Brother, don't put on such a scary expression. We know you're trying to repay a debt of gratitude, but those who know nothing about the situation will think you're trying to take revenge. Lu Jingli could not bear seeing a beauty suffering fright, so he spoke up to break the ice. He then turned to Ning Xi and said, "My brother doesn't like to owe others. You should just request something. No need to be polite." There are even people that would force others into bringing up a request? The corner of her mouth twitched. It's not that I'm being polite. You really don't need to repay me. What I said was the truth. If you don't believe me, you can go check. No need. Lu Tingxiao spoke simply and to the point. His face was starting to show hints of impatience. Lu Jingli spoke up. There was surveillance footage of the bar storeroom. I've already seen it. Little Treasure ran in on his own. As for you, the manager of the bar has already admitted that she was the one who locked you in, so you don't need to worry. We don't suspect your intentions. Since you did save Little Treasure, just ask for something. Great, we're right back where we started. In the end, Ning Xi had no other choice. Under the increasingly forceful gaze of Lu Tingxiao, she summoned up her courage to say, "Then, what about you give me money? The rich like to resolve debts in this simple and straightforward manner, right? Lu Tingxiao should also be the type to like solving problems with money. If she didn't ask for money, then wouldn't they think that she was eyeing something else? If not money, then people?" Just as Ning Xi was assured that this was the most appropriate request she could put forward, Lu Tingxiao's expression became even uglier. Ning Xi was on the verge of tears. Why did he have to be so taciturn? If you have something to say, just say it out loud. Would speaking a few more words kill you? The Lu family's status was too special, and she just couldn't think of an appropriate request at the moment. Just as they were about to come to a deadlock, Lu Tingxiao spoke up. "Marry me." Ning Xi went completely lifeless for a second, before coughing fiercely, almost choking to death on her own spit. What did you say? After finally managing to stop her coughing, she hurriedly turned towards Lu Jingli with intensity. "Second young master, please translate." But this time, it was not only Ning Xi but also Lu Jingli who was completely dazed. "Brother, what do you mean? I can't even translate for you this time." At this moment, good fortune arrived and a light bulb went off in Ning Xi's head. She said falteringly, "Don't tell me you've decided to repay me with your body because I saved your son." Lu Tingxiao inclined his head slightly. After slight thought, he nodded. "You could put it that way." Ning Xi strongly felt like she was in a dream as she looked at the iceberg-like man who had said such shocking words with an expressionless face. She held her forehead weakly. "Doctor, where's the doctor? I think I may have damaged my brain in the fall. I'm having hallucinations." Next to her, Lu Jingli had an innocent expression. "I didn't even fall, but I think my brain got damaged too." At this moment in time, no matter how strong Ning Xi's heart had become after getting abused 1,000,000 times over, she could not accept the truth before her. She had saved a little bun, and now the little bun's father wanted to repay her with his body? If this were someone else, then it would be fine. If they were somewhat handsome, then she could still treat it as a romantic affair. But this was Lu Tingxiao they were talking about. Lu Tingxiao! Based on appearance, she did have some looks to speak of, but what kind of person was Lu Tingxiao? Surely he had already seen countless peerless beauties. If he had only taken a liking to her, she would not have been so shocked. If Lu Tingxiao had wanted to play with her after seeing her face, she could still understand. But what he had said was, "Marry me." This was practically turning into horror. Most importantly, "Aren't you gay?" Ning Xi blurted out. Bwahahaha! Lu Jingli laughed until he fell. Lu Tingxiao's face became as black as the underside of a pot. The whole ward became shrouded in dark clouds instantly. After a long while, Lu Jingli finally managed to hold back his laughter. If my brother was gay, then where did little treasure come from? Well, surrogacy, artificial insemination? If my brother was gay, then why would he want to repay you with his body? To cover up his real sexual orientation? Ha ha ha, bro, I can't help you anymore. I also heard that the two of you are... Ning Xi's gaze subtly shifted between the two brothers. Cuff, cuff, cuff. Lu Jingli was frightened to the point of choking. Shit, that kind of taste is too heavy for me, although I'm so handsome that I can go for both the men and the ladies. At this time, the center of the storm slowly stood up from his chair. His slender legs were moving closer to Ning Xi with every step. Jingli, bring little treasure out. Brother, what do you want to do? Lu Tingxiao slowly fixed the cuff of his sleeve, proving my sexual orientation to Miss Ning. Seeing the other's dark expression and the gaze that wanted to completely devour her, Ning Xi was so scared that she fell out of bed. She retreated behind little treasure, this close to just jumping underneath the bed. Mr. Lu, I didn't start any of this. It was all nonsense I heard from outside. You should chase all this back to the source. Also, you really, really don't need to thank me. If you absolutely, definitely want me to give you a request, then I request that you please do not ask me for another request. Sorry. I have a very important audition coming up later. I have to go now. We'll meet again if we're fated, okay? Ning Xi spit out her words quickly and prepared to sneak away. However, after just a few steps, Lu Tingxiao's cold voice came from behind her. Did I permit you to leave? Ning Xi was so frightened that her legs began to shiver. My life comes to an end now. After a few seconds, under her death-awaiting gaze, Lu Tingxiao passed her a piece of paper and a pen. Could I trouble Miss Ning to leave little treasure a note so that he won't worry about you when he wakes up? Just like that? She survived a close shave. Yes, no problem. I can even write 10,000 words. Ning Xi heaved a huge sigh of relief and picked up the pen to start writing briskly. Once done writing, deathly afraid of a sudden turn of events, she quickly sprinted off. Watching the girl leave, the man had a deep expression, as if he was watching prey that had already been collared. After Ning Xi had left, Lu Jingli immediately sidled up to his brother and bounced. Brother, am I dreaming? You really fancy Ning Xi? It's been 32 years. Even perseverance was about to fail soon, and you haven't taken a liking to any girls? Even I, your dear brother, was starting to suspect if you were bent. When the word bent came out, his brother threw out the words, "Shut up." Yes. Lu Jingli choked. He really wanted to ask. Having to stifle this stomach full of curiosity was going to kill him. Chapter 9. I'm not here to try for the female lead. Original and most updated translations are from Valera Translations. Since it was the rush hour, traffic was especially bad. When Ning Xi arrived, she was already late. Chong Li and Ning Shui Lo were smiling from ear to ear as they stepped out of the audition building. They were surrounded by a crowd that offered congratulations. Seeing Ning Xi from afar, sweating as she hurried to the building, Ning Shui Lo looked at her with the same gaze from 5 years ago. It was the gaze of a deity looking down on an ant. A trail of dust was left behind as Ning Shui Lo arrogantly left on her minivan. Ning Xi quickly ran into the building after seeing Ning Shui Lo depart. It wasn't too late. Suddenly, Ning Xi ran into a group of people who were chatting cheerfully as they were walking. They were the panel judges for the Land Under Heaven auditions. "Sorry, I'm late," Ning Xi bowed deeply. Seeing that Ning Xi had blocked their path and interrupted them, a couple of the judges exchanged looks, clearly unhappy. No one liked people who were late. The assistant director kept a straight face. "The audition is already over. What's the point in rushing over here? Youngsters are getting more and more unreliable these days." "I'm not here to try for the lead role," Ning Xi started talking. "Oh, you're not here to try for the female lead. Then what are you auditioning for?" the screenwriter asked with interest. "I'm here to audition for the supporting female lead, Meng Cheng-gae. As far as I know, you weren't able to find a suitable actress for the supporting lead during the last auditions." Ning Xi lifted her head before the screenwriter could respond to her words. The instant Ning Xi lifted her head, the surroundings turned quiet for 5 seconds. The unfriendly assistant director was awestruck. What she saw was a girl with full lips, white teeth, waist-long ebony hair, in a crimson dress. Her brilliance could not be suppressed by such a vibrant color. Instead, it helped enhance her beauty. She was just standing there calmly, yet it was almost as if she was standing in a forest of floating mist. She seemed like a fox spirit with 1,000 years of cultivation. That pair of mesmerizing eyes would make a person drop their guard and fall into that endless spring of beauty in just one instant. Although her cultivation was that of a spirit fox, she seemed like a fairy who had never stepped on the ground. Her eyes held a lustrous depth. As if they had been lost in a beautiful dream, many of the judges regained their senses only after director Gua Qi-shen spoke. "What's your name?" "Ning Xi." Director Gua spoke after exchanging glances with the assistant director, screenwriter, and film producer. "I have some recollection of you. You're one of Starlight Entertainment's artists, right? You can go back to prepare. The supporting female lead is yours. You will be notified when filming starts." "Thank you, director. I will prepare well." Ning Xi bowed to express her gratitude. Ning Xi's target had always been the supporting female lead. She had been preparing this role for 3 months by trying to completely understand Meng Cheng-gae's character, making all the effort to impress the judges with just one glance. Fortunately, she had succeeded despite some setbacks. Director Gua exclaimed after Ning Xi had left, "We looked all over for an actress, and the moment we stopped looking, we found the perfect one. Her qualifications are too poor despite being signed to Starlight Entertainment. With her acting record, I didn't even consider her for the lead role.
though I had never imagined that she would be far more beautiful than in her pictures." Screenwriter Ye-ling Rong couldn't suppress his excitement either. Most importantly, her aura was on point. That gaze from before was too fitting. Meng Changge was a righteous female general before she became the downfall of the nation. She could be pretty and coquettish, yet she would maintain a pure demeanor and state of mind. She could never be vulgar. All the artists that came to audition before acted out brothel courtesans for me. I was fuming. Haha, don't get worked up. Haven't we finally found the Changbe we've been waiting for? At the same time, in B City, the First People's Hospital, the VIP hospital room that Little Bun was in was currently in a state of chaos. The little guy was huddled on the windowsill with bare feet. He was frustrated and screaming at the top of his lungs. No matter how the doctors and nurses tried to persuade him, he wouldn't come down. Lu Jingli was cajoling him like the most precious person in his heart, but it couldn't be helped that his efforts were completely ignored by the other. Lu Tingxiao had just been called back to his company, but with no other options left, Lu Jingli had to call him.
Chapter 10. Little Bun suddenly goes on a rampage. Original and most updated translations are from Volare Translations. Brother, you're finally here. Your little treasure was just fine a while ago, but he suddenly started going on a rampage. What happened? Lu Tingxiao asked in a low voice. I don't know what happened either. After he woke up, he was searching everywhere for someone. I thought that he might be searching for Ning Xi, so I told him to stop looking. The pretty lady had already left. As soon as I finished talking, he started his rampage. Little Treasure seems to like Ning Xi a lot, but it shouldn't be to the point where he would get this agitated by just hearing that she left. Also, it had been a long time since Little Treasure had shown such intense and turbulent emotions. After hearing what had happened, Lu Tingxiao walked straight towards his son. Seeing Lu Tingxiao come closer, the little guy immediately retreated backwards warily. His eyes were filled with caution and aversion. He wasn't going to stop even for his own father. Lu Tingxiao stopped when he was 3 steps away from his son. He said in a calm and steady tone, "When your second uncle told you that the lady had already left, that was exactly what he meant. There was nothing wrong with her health, so she has already left the hospital to go home. She didn't die. It's not like when your grandmother left and never came back. Understand?" It was perhaps only when facing his son that Lu Tingxiao would have such patience, having so much to say. Lu Jingli gaped. Are you kidding me? I only said those 2 words, she left, and his mind made such a huge leap? Xiao Bao personally saw Ning Xi fall down and had already experienced a big fright. Under such emotional turmoil, he couldn't be blamed for misunderstanding the situation. Little Treasure briefly stopped screaming after hearing Lu Tingxiao's explanation. He refused to move while burying his head and curling up on the windowsill. Seeing this, Lu Tingxiao took out a slip of paper. She left this for you. Are you going to look at it? Little Treasure's body twitched once, as if a switch had been turned on. He quickly raised his head and opened his little arms, indicating that he wanted his father to hug him. Lu Jingli, the doctors and nurses at the scene, everyone in the room had been put through the ringer to the point of breaking down, yet Lu Tingxiao managed to end the matter with a slip of paper. Lu Jingli had originally thought that asking Ning Xi for a note was entirely unnecessary, but now he was completely convinced. Lu Tingxiao carried his son to the sofa and sat down, then handed the paper slip to him.
The little guy eagerly received it. He had learned to recognize words a long time ago and could already read on his own. "Darling, thank you for saving me. You're amazing. XOXO." Looking at the words on the slip and the heart drawn at the end of it, the little guy's eyes were sparkling. He even had a faint blush on his cheeks. Even though he tightened his lips reservedly, the corners of his mouth could not resist faintly quirking up. His demeanor was especially cute. Lu Jingli looked as if he had just seen a ghost. What the hell? Was I just blinded? Our little treasure actually smiled? I can't even remember how long it's been since I last saw him smile. What exactly did Ning Xi write? Lu Jingli wanted to sneak a peek, but little treasure immediately hid it like it was a precious treasure. However, Lu Jingli's sharp eyes had already seen it. It was just a fairly ordinary note, yet it could make little treasure so happy? This Ning Xi was remarkable. Lu Tingxiao gazed warmly at his son without speaking. After little treasure had woken up, Lu Tingxiao immediately brought him home. In addition, he postponed all his work at the company to stay with little treasure at home. At night, in Platinum Palace, Villa number 8, the huge living room was icy cold. An adult and a child sat facing each other across the dining table with matching cold expressions. Lu Tingxiao, "Eat your food." Bao turned a deaf ear. Lu Tingxiao, "I'm saying this for the last time." Bao didn't even twitch. Lu Tingxiao, "Do you think that this kind of childish hunger strike would work on me?" Bao was like a meditating old monk, completely immersed in his own world, isolated from the outside world. The duo continued to confront one another. After 1 hour, Lu Tingxiao called Lu Jingli, "Sent me Ning Xi's address." Okay, so this had proven that hunger strikes did work on him. Lu Jingli was extremely efficient as he immediately sent Lu Tingxiao's exact address to his older brother's cell phone. Following that was a huge pile of gossip, which was completely ignored by Lu Tingxiao. This time, Lu Tingxiao didn't even need to say anything. The moment little treasure saw his father picking up his jacket and car keys, he immediately followed his father's every step. Lu Tingxiao helplessly picked up his son after a single glance at the little bun standing by his feet. There will be no next time.